Hey, welcome to A Game for Your Thoughts. Today we're talking to... Wow, okay. Hey, welcome to A Game for Your Thoughts. Today we're talking about Dishonored, Death of the Outsider. So Death of the Outsider actually follows former assassin turned ship captain Billy Lurk turned back assassin. Ooh, that's confusing. She was an assassin, then she wasn't, now she is again. And she's now the main character of this game. She was an awesome character in Dishonored 2, and now she's back for her own experience, and it's awesome. So after the events of the second game, Billy Lurk goes to find her former assassin leader Dowd, who is actually from the first game, and she finds him, and he's got this big crazy plan. He's like, hey, you know what? We're gonna kill the Outsider, the godlike being in the Dishonored universe. As of now, this is the final game in the Dishonored series. We don't know if we're going to get any other ones, but as of right now, they're kind of taking a break, is what I've heard. And this is our last game we're going to get for a while. And from a story standpoint, it was fine. The overall experience is very minor story. There really isn't a whole lot of big story moments or really important things that happen. It doesn't really build or expand upon the lore in really many or big interesting ways. And I was fine with it, but it was kind of a bit of a bummer because the story and the lore and the world of Dishonored was always one of my favorite parts of the first two games. I did like seeing him dive more into the Outsider and kind of figure out like his story and what he's all about, where he came from, and just kind of things like that. So that was really cool to see, but beyond that, there really just isn't a whole lot going on. It was slightly disappointing. In the end, the story is very minor in this game, but like I said, I really enjoyed the story and the lore of the other two games, and I would really love to see this build on some really cool and interesting ways, or do something really big and interesting with the story. And it did in a few minor ways, but it wasn't really anything big or that interesting or that eccentric, and I was kind of hoping for a little bit more. With all this being said, this actually does end up affecting the gameplay because the first two games are really based off the chaos system, which really alters or changes the way that the story plays out, but this game doesn't have the chaos system. It just isn't there. You don't have any negative or positive consequences depending on what actions you do. And this was a really mixed bag for me as well, because I really did like the chaos system because it really made you pick and choose how you wanted to approach different situations. But here, nothing really mattered. And so like it was kind of nice to be able to play both ways and you didn't really have any effects, but also at the same time, those effects are really what made the first two games so interesting. That isn't to say I didn't like the gameplay of this game, it just took out one of my favorite things about the previous titles, and so it's just very different. The gameplay itself is pretty similar to the second Dishonored title, as it's got, you know, like the same kind of feel and the powers and just kind of how you go about things. Well, there definitely are some cool new powers, I'll talk about those in a minute. I just definitely feel like the levels themselves were a little bit more compact, very similar to the first game where there's not a whole lot to explore. There is a lot to see, but they're just not as big and expansive as the second game was, which it was fine. I just was kind of weird that they kind of took a step back, you know? So since the story didn't have a whole lot going on, they added these things called contracts, and these contracts are basically side quests and give you more to do in these worlds. There's really only 4 or 5 worlds, and you don't really get to spend a whole lot of time in them if you just go straight for the plot. But if you spend the time and go and do these contracts, they lead to some really interesting and fun moments. But it just was a cool little side quest thing, and I would really like to see this return in future Dishonored games. So like I said, there are a few new powers in this game, and I really did like these powers, that they were different. They used similar ideas from past games, but they felt very unique to this game, and I did appreciate that. Well, some of them weren't always like the most efficient way to go about things, specifically the switch ability, which kind of takes place a blink. It takes a little bit more time to set up and plan, and when you're on the run and you need to get out of a situation quick, this doesn't work as well, which was cool because then it made it different. It just was different. I think that's the biggest thing with this game, is that it's just very different from the previous Dishonored games, which I appreciate, but also it took out a lot of things I really loved about the other games, and the things it did add just felt like kind of slightly inefficient versions of the things that we had seen previously. But overall, the gameplay was still very fun and definitely the most enjoyable part of this game because it took up most of the experience. And I really did enjoy the levels. There's one level where you're in this bank and it has this elevator in the middle and you got to really manipulate that to your advantage, and it's just really, really cool. I just really appreciated the level designs, and the places you go are just really cool and fun to explore. Well, I wish there was a little bit more to it, and the chaos system were there to kind of help fluctuate how the story plans out, but it's fine. It ended up being a good experience that I really enjoyed. Though in the long run, I think the big thing is, how was it as a solid conclusion of the Dishonored series to this point? It was pretty good. It wasn't the perfect ending, and I felt like it did a good job of kind of giving you a satisfying conclusion, but also leave it open for future titles. And I thought that was great. I feel like that's what it needed to do, and it did that. And it had enjoyable gameplay that did change and move things a lot from the other titles. It just felt weird and different, but it was fine. It was fun, and I really enjoyed my time with Death of the Outsider. If you've never played a Dishonored game before, I would recommend starting somewhere else so you can kind of appreciate the characters and the story that is there. But for a Dishonored game, it was a pretty awesome expansion upon the second game. It changed and did a lot of things different, and I'm really excited to see where the series goes next, whenever that is. So, in the end, is Death of the Outsider worth playing? Yeah, if you're into Dishonored, go check it out. If you're not into Dishonored, maybe start somewhere else first and then come back, because it's totally worth playing and was fun. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. So let me know down in the comments below, what's your favorite Dishonored game? I'd probably say for me, the first one just really stands out. It's just such a classic, basic, and really enjoyable experience. So that's my pick. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. And while you're down there, if you want to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to get notified every time I post a new video, that would be fantastic. And if you want to see more of me, I'm over on Twitch at twitch.tv/aGameForYourThoughts. I'm streaming there all the time, and I would love to see you there. Thanks again for watching the video. I hope you have an amazing day, and don't forget, the key to success is succeeding, and we'll see you guys next time on A Game For Your Thoughts. See ya!